All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Avid CNC Friday live stream. It's so great to see you all. Thanks so much for being here. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. And, if you're working on any cool projects this weekend, I want to hear about that. This is Open Studio. So, Corey and I are going to try to do this, maybe once a month, depending on how the schedule allows and kind of what we have lined up for you. We'll go over some of our, favorite recent things, recent and upcoming events, any exciting product launches and that sort of thing. So, and also as well to answer your CNC questions, which I have put out a poll on Instagram. I have a couple lined up. If you have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat as well.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Let us know where you're coming from, and yeah, any questions you have specifically around this new product, our new spindle, or any other of our products, we'd be happy to review those.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could just go ahead and jump into that big spindle launch. Um, so, ta-da! I don't know which way to go. This way? Ah. So we're really excited about bringing this. It's an 8.7 horsepower spindle, and it has many different use cases. We still have, our 2.2 kilowatt spindle option as well. Really just depends on what your needs are. So we're just going to kind of break those down and the different specs that this particular spindle has.
Yeah, and both spindles are compatible with our Pro Series machines, so either one is going to be plug and play ready to go right with our control box, and yeah, they both have some big advantages. So this new 8.7 horsepower obviously is bigger, and that means it can remove a lot more material in the same time frame.
Right, and it's really great for something like larger diameter tooling. So if you're going to do something like slabbing, this is a really great option for you because you're trying to clear out more material faster, usually on a wider surface using the larger diameter tools, which will also have some really great tooling options coming soon as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and in that case, that first pass on our slabs when we're flattening them, sometimes there's twist or bow in those slabs, and therefore we want to always zero to the highest part of the slab possible, but sometimes that doesn't happen perfectly, and this bigger spindle really can eat through a lot more material. So even though you might be taking a conservative cut, if you do find yourself going into a more aggressive cut, this is going to have the power to be able to push right through that, even with that large diameter tooling.
Right. So let's just kind of read through some of the specs here. You can find this on, I will show you, on our website, and we currently have a pre-sale listing. Here we go. So here's the listing. If you go to tooling, CNC spindle /VFD, you can find the 8.7 horsepower plug and play spindle /VFD system. So that is there, and you can find all of the kind of stats and specs here that we'll kind of go through, but we'll just go ahead and read through and talk about these different things. So you can, Corey's definitely more you help folks with setting up their electrical often. This can run on single phase or 3-phase, and if you run it on single phase, it is a slightly reduced horsepower amount, but you can also have an adapter as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how you kind of get that set up in your space?
Yeah, so our engineering team designed the system to be able to operate with either single phase input or 3-phase input. And the VFD, or variable frequency drive, that we chose for this system really allows for us to power it with single phase and still get a majority of the oomph or power out of that VFD to really make this spindle worth it, even when it's only being powered with single phase. And so it is pre-wired with a plug and an adapter, so it will be plug and play ready for either single phase or 3-phase power when it arrives at your facility.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, it's good. There was a question about how many phases. Can you slow it, the RPM and high torque to machine aluminum and brass? So this is another wonderful use case, is lower RPM capabilities. I know, Corey, you were telling me all about this earlier, so why don't you go ahead and give us the rundown for that?
Yeah, so chip load is something I'm always focusing on the CAM side of my toolpath creation and just that flow. And when we have smaller movements and denser materials, being able to drop our RPM down will give us really ideal chip loads. Now, just like anything, when you reduce your RPM, you are reducing the overall power. We still have the same amount of torque. Our torque range from 1,000 to 18,000 RPM is going to be consistent. But when we talk about high density materials and smaller, or what I would consider more delicate moves, that lower RPM really can extend our tool life. And so that's where, even though it's a bigger horsepower spindle, when we have small delicate movements, we can actually increase tool life because we can get really ideal chip loads and focus on really good chip evacuation. And both of those are going to help our tooling last longer and longer.
Right. Another, I think, really common use case I think folks are going to look to this tool for is for really high production. So for a case like if you follow Izzy Swan, or go check out his Instagram if you want to, because he is currently has this spindle and he's been running it constantly, really deep depths of cut in order to crank out the product that he has in the queue. So definitely considering if you want to run it faster, longer, is designed to do that. It's designed for
Yeah.
continuous use in production environments. So the
Yeah.
Spindle's electric cooling fan really allows for the operation right at lower RPMs and then, for longer periods of time.
Definitely. And Tim asked a good question here. Tim's question was, were there any negative results from testing impact on the table integrity with more aggressive feed rates available with this new spindle? And I guess, Tim, that's always a balance that we're trying to find with any CNC machine. And I like to use this comparison to vehicles a lot. A vehicle takes a motor, brakes, and suspension in order to go around the racetrack as fast as possible. And our system has machine integrity, spindle power, and drive power. And what we have found is that when this spindle is mounted correctly on our z-axis and we have our machine assembled as prescribed through our instructions, that we still have a tolerance capability that is achievable with our machines. And our engineering team worked really hard to make sure that those three systems in combination worked well, so you could take advantage of that additional power. Now, if you're using a 1/4-inch end mill, you're not going to be able to really take advantage of that power because tool deflection is probably going to be the failure point. And so and if your work holding is weak, you might not be able to take advantage of that power because your work holding is going to be the failure point. And so there's a combination of understanding, with your vectors, your work holding, your tooling, how to leverage this increase in power with your cutting motor.
Right. For those of you who don't know, this is an ER32 collet system, so it's one step up. It's can accept up to 3/4 shank tooling, which really kind of allows you to get into a different ball game there with the tools that you're utilizing.
Yeah, it really helps with your tool deflection, especially if you're trying to take full depth cuts with a smaller diameter tool. If you can get a larger shank tool, that will help with tool deflection in those cases.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any more questions over here? Is it possible to get a 120 vac controller to run one of your spindles?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And possible or recommended, I guess, is two different scenarios. And I would say, generally speaking, we're not going to recommend that you power our 2.2 kilowatt with 120 volt. There are some possibilities out there for people to add additional electronics in that interface in order to make that work. But really, our recommended solution is going to be single phase 220 for the 2.2 kilowatt and three phase 220 for the 8.7 horsepower spindle.
Awesome. Well, super. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Okay, let's keep throwing those questions in there. just to mention about sales, so you can email our support team if this is a product you're interested in, or if you have an order currently and you want to add that on, you can certainly do that. It's also shipping in about 6 weeks from now. So we don't currently have the add to cart feature right now, but it should be in the next few days, should be available there. But you can always just email our support team and they're happy to help you with that.
Yeah, reach out to us. We're really excited about this product and how plug and play ready it is, and it really is going to match the performance of the mechanical and drive systems of our Pro Series machines. So really excited to bring this to market.
I'm just really excited to make some chips. I have one on the machine at the Portland shop here, and we'll have some cool videos coming out soon featuring it, and really kind of showing you the use cases and going into that.
Yeah, and this is plug and play backwards compatible. So anyone who has an existing Pro Series machine, this is going to be ready to bolt right onto that Z-axis and get you cutting with more capabilities.
Yeah, awesome. Of course, thanks everyone for your questions about ATC. Yes, we are really working on that. We have the majority of our engineering resources are dedicated to this endeavor. We definitely know that this is something that will help a lot of customers, and it's definitely something we want to get out there. We just want to make sure that it's really integrated through the hardware, through the software. It's easy to use. It's right, backwards compatible, so our machines can continue to evolve. So please stay tuned. It is being worked on, and our engineering team is really excited about it. Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that everyone is aware, it's really important to us. The success rate of these kits is exceptionally high. We are aiming with a very high bar, and it is a kit-based machine. And it being a kit-based machine, it's really important that our support be great and that our kits be accurate and that people are successful with those systems. And so we don't want to overprice an ATC system just to bring it to market, but we also, we want to engineer it to where it's really guaranteeing a high level of success, and it's not as simple as just bolting on some tool holders and going. We really want that interface and the mechanical system of that ATC system to be a very reliable, robust system that's cost effective and is available for all of our clients. And so we are working very hard on that. And as Sami said, stay tuned. We will be very excited to launch that product and help people increase capacity and efficiencies with their machines.
Yeah, awesome. Well, there's some really good questions over here. I think it's really relevant to kind of our next topic. So if you have any more thoughts, Cory, on the big spindle at the moment, I'll just go ahead and jump into our next topic.
No, it's I'm excited. I can't wait to see some of our customers and users really take advantage of the efficiencies this tool is going to bring to our tables. And yeah, I'm really excited about this product.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so now we're also going to just touch on a recent event that we got to participate in, and we had a lot of fun getting to be a part of Vectric's first worldwide user group meeting. And it is an evergreen event, so all of the videos and classes are online still, and you can go back and experience the event at your leisure. Cory and I had the opportunity to give 2 talks. Both were about advanced toolpath strategies with VCarve. If you have VCarve, Aspire, or Cut2D, whatever you work with, those will be relevant to you. Even if you aren't really working with VCarve products, I think a lot of the concepts are going to be really relevant to you. So I know that John had a question about machining plastics. One of the classes was about advanced toolpath strategies for plywood and plastics. So I have linked to the description below the 2 talks that Cory and I had the opportunity to give. So hopefully, yeah, go watch that. And I hope that helps. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to share this with you.
Yeah, I often make this comparison that CNC machines are kind of like musical instruments. And when we watch these videos, it's kind of like having band practice, where we get to see someone else's style or how they might manipulate that instrument in order to get it to sound a certain way. And Becky is one of my favorite people to watch navigate through VCarve and Aspire. She did a couple great talks during the user group that I would really encourage people to take a look at. She really can help efficiently push techniques through tutorials and very palatable to watch. And then Tim's talk on the toy truck was really fun. I like Tim's approach to VCarve. He really showed how he, pushes through the design process and the toolpath process and how he overcomes different challenges. And so it isn't this perfect sequence. It's more of he hits some speed bumps and he shows you how he smooths those out and moves forward. And I thought he did a really good talk also.
Yeah, there were so many, with all the updates with 10.5,
Yeah.
just watching through these, it's really, difficult to keep up with all of the updates that come with every software release. And, I use Fusion and there's always changes there. With VCarve, it's nice that they're releasing these packages so I can really stay up to date with them. And just watching through the way Becky uses it, there's so many things. I've been using VCarve for 5 or 6 years now, and now I still every time I still have those light bulb moments. It still blows me away. So yeah, definitely check
Yeah.
out Becky's videos if you haven't. I love Becky, so uh, Becky, if you're watching, you're wonderful, and we appreciate you. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a question. Oh, are you hiring any time in the near future in North Bend? We're always looking for wonderful folks for our team. So please, feel free to email us.
The email is jobs@avidcnc.com, and shoot us over an email. And if there's an opening that fits where you can help, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so Vectric user group was wonderful. Next year, they're going to be having one in San Diego, but I think that there was such a great response that they're going to continue to do the worldwide event because it really, I think, spoke to the, what's in our mission is accessibility of CNC and the fact that you didn't have to travel or take time off, from your job. It's very difficult for a lot of folks to do that. And this really allowed anyone, anywhere to tune in. It was free. There was, I think, a $49 cost if you wanted the files, which is totally understandable. But it was free to watch and free to learn. And that's, what we're all about. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to just switch us back to the two hosts. And okay, we have a couple of questions that we have pulled from Instagram, so we're just going to go through those. If you have any more Open Studio questions, let us know, and support, design, whatever specific within VCarve or Fusion, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, so properly leveling a CNC bed. How do we ensure that we make sure our machine bed is level and everything is kind of square and set up? Cory, how would you coach somebody through that?
Yeah, so really it's from the ground up. So when we talk about our machines, they're usually larger format, and most concrete slabs aren't perfectly level. They're actually designed not to be level because we want the water to move away or out of that facility. And so really starting and understanding that the surface that you're putting the machine on, how level that surface is. I always encourage people to level the frame and square the frame first. And then when we get our spoil board or fixture system attached, tramming and getting our tooling perfectly vertical would be the next step. And then using a nice large diameter tool to surface that bed is going to give us the exact platform that we want to then machine from.
Yeah, right. And I think the environment you're in really depends on how often you have to kind of check for level or you have to kind of and depends on how you treat your spoil board. There are so many different theories on how and why you might do things a specific way. I prefer a MDF spoil board that I can level, and but I'm also very particular about machining, setting my zero to the spoil board itself rather than to the material, so I don't cut into the bed.
Yeah.
But I know that Izzy is just goes full steam ahead, and he'd rather switch out the MDF, every 2 months, and that works for him. So, it kind of is figuring out what process works for you and your shop needs. Like if you're doing high production and you don't have time to kind of worry about that, you might have a different approach. I know that Dark Arrow, they are in if you haven't watched the Dark Arrow live stream, they are a company that manufactures airplane kits, essentially, and their goal is to make the fastest and home kit airplane.
Longest
Longest range.
range
Thank you.
airplane that you can build in your garage. Yeah,
Right.
no, it's a very cool. And so yeah, there's a lot of different techniques to
Mm-hmm.
using spoil boards. I also really employ the technique of I use 1/4 inch plywood if I'm cutting through, let's say I'm using 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch plywood and I'm cutting completely through that material. Sometimes I'll put a layer of 1/4 inch plywood on top of my spoil board just so I know I can over travel through that final product and essentially scar that temporary layer in there because I know I'm going all the way through the material. But if you're creating pockets or any type of V carving or top surface with that method, I want to make sure that I'm zeroing to that
Mm-hmm.
area when I do that, because that additional layer of plywood might cause some slight irregularities in that top surface. And so spoil board is part of your style, and fixturing and the work holding you use is part of your style. And I like to say, hey, if you're not sure what your style is, go and mimic someone else's style, and someone who's using the same type of materials or trying to create the same type of final products that you're creating, and mimic their styles, and develop a style of your own by using other people's styles to really navigate through that. Or reach out to us, shoot an email over
Mm-hmm.
to the support team here, and we'll schedule a time to have a conversation, and we can talk about some different styles that you can develop or employ. And then, just like feeds and speeds, let's try it out, and let's determine what feels right for you in regards to efficiencies, and what can guarantee the best quality product out the end of the
Mm-hmm.
programs on a regular
And
basis.
we also have a work holding playlist on our channel,
Yeah.
so feel free to check that out and kind of click through, and you can kind of see where you might use different types of work holding. Um, okay, any tips and tricks for carving 3D machining foam? Sorry, the chat's going. Is a
Yeah.
roughing pass still necessary? Chip load numbers for foam seem low. Yeah. Okay, definitely. So we have a couple of videos. They're not necessarily tutorials, but they're really great videos to look to. There's a Thingergy playlist. So Thingergy is a company that manufactures sets and props and all sorts of things for kind of the Hollywood scene, and they're based outside of
Hmm.
LA. We did a studio visit with them. Frank Ippolito used to be on Tested with Adam Savage. So they do a lot of foam machining, and I kind of look to them as experts on that. We'll definitely work on getting some foam related content for you here, but definitely I would recommend looking at those videos. And Corey, do you have any particular tips you would give in machining
Yeah.
foam?
So foam is a very unique
Mm-hmm.
material in the sense of routing. It's very low density. There's a lot of air, and it's very uniform. And so, again, I guess I would circle back. Your particular tooling is your goal to. With 3D machining, my goal would be, first goal is to remove as much material as effective as possible to do my roughing pass. And then my second goal would be to create the best surface finish to to limit my post finishing requirements for that 3D contour. And your type of foam is really going to dictate that. And so if the really low density foam, like the pink foams, you're going to have more tear out. Essentially, you're going to have more post cleaning up than some of the higher density foams or materials, like the expanded PVC or something like that, where you can get a really nice quality finish, and that's just because the density of that material is higher, and therefore we can have less chip out. The actual structure of the material we're cutting allows for a better surface finish. So it isn't always just about the tooling or the chip load. A lot of times with foam, it's about the type of foam you're using. And if you're using a very low density foam, I probably wouldn't say that's the first thing I would reach for a really high resolution 3D sculpting toolpath.
Right. You were mentioning the type of foam really matters and kind of what the end goal is. So I was just kind of revisiting some of the Halloween video on JD's Rainfall Projects channel, and I made these pink foam, the Pink Panther foam from Home Depot or whatever, or your big box store, making these tombstones, and I kind of just spray painted them, and they got kind of like obviously melty, but I like that old aesthetic. And that was something I wasn't super concerned about the surface finish versus the specific type of carving foam that they use at Thingergy, because that has to be a perfect surface for clay to be attached to for the sculptors. So it really depends what your goals are there.
Yeah. I've machined the pink foam a number of times to make concrete molds. And so if you ever wanted to do like homemade pavers with unique shapes or different things, I think pink foam is a phenomenal product for that type of approach, because I'm not doing these high res 3D sculpted toolpaths. I'm more doing profile and pocket cuts in order for these to fit together so I can create some paver molds. And that's going to be very different than if I was trying to make a mold that was set up for like a vacuum form or some other type of high surface quality in a 3D sculpting. That Pink Panther foam is not what I would reach for. I would reach for an expanded PVC or some of the other different types of machinable foam products that are available that are just going to be higher density. And that's really what we're looking for that surface finish, is a higher density foam.
Right. And if you are interested in cement casting and foam, I would check out Works by Solo. He has some amazing lamp designs where he casts the base and does a pink foam mold. Be sure to check that out as well. So I have another.
Bernie's phenomenal and uses his machine in all sorts of unique ways, and phenomenal fabricator.
That's true, he does. I really enjoy following his story. So we have a question from our Instagram that was, will the 4x8 cut full sheets of plywood? This is a really great question. Yes, our our work area is oversized to accommodate that most common material size. So for example, on the 4x8, I would probably put the 49-inch by 97-inch MDF spoil board. So you have it just oversized and making sure your spindle can go to the full outside edge. It's about an inch oversized on each direction.
Yeah, we always have additional travel beyond our advertised size of machine, and that's because of some of our sheet good products come oversized so that you can guarantee that you get a final size at that. So like Sami said, MDF comes oversized at 49 inches wide, and our machine can more than capably machine completely around that 49-inch wide. So all of our machine specs are available on the machine kit listings individually in regards to work area.
Right. Okay, somebody also asked in our questions, what kind of grease do we use? We use a multi-purpose lithium grease, and it's or you could also use multi-purpose marine grease is also fine. It's listed on our website, and with the grease gun, we also have, if you have an older machine and you haven't got the chance to update your grease fittings, they're a really small update, but they will change your life. So go check that out. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, yeah, and the machine kits come with a small grease gun.
Mm-hmm.
I have a larger grease gun, so the small grease gun that I got with my machine ended up not using too much. I use my large tube grease gun, and yeah, when I think about machine maintenance and just making sure things
Mm-hmm.
are preventative maintenance, the new needle tip adapter and grease fitting make it so
Right.
easy to just go around the machine, and in less than 30 seconds I can grease all of the blocks, and really it's just that preventative maintenance, and I know my machine's going to operate smoothly and accurately.
Right. So take this as a notice. If you haven't greased your machine in a while, go do that. I really recommend it. It's something that's going to help your machine last a lot longer, especially if you're running a lot, or if you even let your machine sit for a week or something. Maybe just give it a little love, and make sure to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, clean shop clean shop is a safe shop,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure your tools are maintained, especially if you're relying on those tools for any amount of income stream. Just like a delivery driver is going to take care of that vehicle, we want to take care of that machine.
Awesome.
So there was a question here about controlling the relays.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Mach 4, we actually have Relay 1 and Relay 2 controlled right on the main home screen there in Mach 4. And so if you wanted to control those relays through G-code, that would be through adding some additional post-processor logic. And it's actually one of the live stream topics we are going to be bridging here soon is how to modify a post-processor. But generally speaking, if you had a dust collection or air compressor or a camera or a light or something that you wanted to plug into one of those 110 volt relays on our control box, those can be toggled on and off right on the main Mach 4 control screen, or you can modify the post processor and toggle them on and off through the G code.
Right. I think also Jay Bates had to open his uh, blast gate on his dust collection. Or no, not Jay Bates. Sorry,
Yeah,
Robert Cohen.
Robert
Yeah.
Cohen. Yeah, yeah. So, it's a
Mm-hmm.
relay. We are allowing power to flow. And so there's a lot of different ways that you could take advantage of that. And being able to control that through the G code is a really great
Mm-hmm.
feature. Just like us turning on the spindle and turning off the spindle if you hit the emergency stop button, all of those automatic features really allow for efficient and safe operation of the machine.
Right. Um, we have a question here. Does anyone know of a quick G code to copy paste into the middle of a long program that it would go home all of the axes and then pick up where it left off in the program? So, right, when you're talking about editing your code, did you mean that you had to stop and then had to restart? Or let me know about that. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, so I guess if I were going to talk about strategy, I try not to have a strategy of having G code that lasts for hours and hours and hours if possible. I try to limit my code to about 1 to 2 hours, and that's just because that allows for my life to be more flexible. If I need to step away or do something, I know that the machine isn't going to be programmed to run for the next 6 hours, and I'm not allowed to leave. And so I guess generally speaking, I tend to break my G code up to where I don't have exceptionally long
Mm-hmm.
programs. In the event that I do have to stop in the middle of the program, there's a couple different strategies for recovering from that. Generally speaking, you can start in the middle of a G code program, but you need to be very particular about the code that you're starting on and where you are in that position in order to pick right back up where you left off. Alternatively, if you can go back into your CAM software and just eliminate the beginning part of that code, and essentially you're making a new program for that second part. That's also a very viable solution, especially when we're talking about a really high value material that's being cut or something that we've invested a lot of time in. That might be an approach I take when I have a really high value material or something that there's a big investment in. It's worth me spending the extra time to create a second new program for that additional, or the rest of the machining work, just so I know I can be exceptionally successful in that restarting process.
Right. Awesome. I'm just going to pull this questions for us here.
Yeah. So, but generally speaking, Gabe, I would never plan on having to stop in the middle of a program and rehome. The only time we should be needing to home our machine is in the event that we lost position. And if we're losing position, there's something else at wrong. We've crashed into a vise, we've crashed into something, our tooling has failed. There's been some other action there. And generally speaking, just because you have a long program, that doesn't mean that you need to rehome. Our machines operate accurately through, I've seen it through millions of lines of code. And so if you are having any issues with that, please reach out to our support team and we can talk about strategy to make sure that we are not crashing or having any type of programmic elements that would cause that.
Right. Yeah, I think Mathscaper is a really great example of really, really
Yeah.
long 3D carving. I will add a link to, it's got a wonderful Instagram. Uh, really long, beautiful programs. It takes a lot of lines of code and a lot of patience, but I definitely think you'll see a lot of that represented where you are really able to work through that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running the machine for more than 12 hours. Yeah, lots of folks really do that and sometimes set up a baby cam, FaceTime with your machine. I know that the folks at Dark Arrow often run their machine overnight too. Um, awesome.
Yeah, it's just like any other machine tools. We want to be careful, operating them when we don't have eyes directly
Mm-hmm.
on them. We want to make sure that we're operating in a safe environment. But for me, it's yeah, these machines can operate very long programs. It's just for me, I shorten those programs up for a convenience as me as an operator in my house, and just with the curveballs that family life can sometimes throw at you. I like to be able to know that I can step away sooner than later and pick right back up where I left off.
Great. Can I use Mach 4 and the Avid post processor on my Avid DIY electronics? Um,
Yeah, yeah, we've done some really great things with Mach 4 and making configuring for different electronic packages very easy. And so if you're having any problems with that, please reach out to our support team and we'll guide you through that
yeah,
process.
Mach 4 has definitely had a lot of great updates and, it's continuing to be developed and improved, and we will continue to
Yeah,
put resources there too.
it's one of the reasons, yeah, we made that transition is because we are able to add functionality and features into that Mach 4
Mm-hmm.
interface. And I think our AutoZ touch plate um, is a great example of how our team has really leveraged what Mach 4 is capable of when additional code is added.
Right. Awesome. Well, that seems like all of our questions. Oh,
Yeah, if you got any more, put
yeah.
them in there. We're at about a 20-second delay, so we'll kind of kick the can around here for a couple seconds and wait and see if you guys add some more here. But
Let's
let's throw in
see.
some other questions. Um,
Absolutely. So with the Aaron here has a question. With a small router bit, can a large machine like a Pro 4848 or a 4x8 make small intricate engravings on coasters, earrings? I want to make large wooden furniture and small pieces. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You can definitely do that.
yeah,
Um, it's, I think, about how, you take the time to set up your fixtures and, when you're it's really nice to have a small machine to do small things. I think it just is kind of you still have the capabilities to do the larger machines have the same capabilities, so you can absolutely accomplish that.
yeah, this is actually, I talk to people sometimes who don't have any space constraints about this. And a 5x10 machine can actually be really ideal if you know you're going to be processing 4x8 sheets and you're going to be doing other small intricate work. And that's because you can effectively set up two dedicated work holding areas that are very different from each other. You can have your sheet processing area, and then you can have your small dimensional lumber or material processing area. And both of those work holding methods can be very unique to those different styles of manufacturing. And so that 5x10 machine really can be leveraged. So no matter if it's a sheet good project, or if it's some coasters or some furniture or a small carving, you have work holding that's dedicated, and you know exactly how you're going to hold your work, and therefore your manufacturing process is really fast. And that additional work area really can be leveraged. So even though you're not going to be processing 5x10 sheet goods, that 5x10 machine really has a lot of advantages in regards to you switching from 4x8 sheet goods and dimensional materials.
Right. So I think we have some, I think that question kind of helped me answer this next question about what makes us special, what makes Avid CNC so unique. And I think it is about kind of the options that you have, the modularity of it, how we design our machines to evolve. So whenever somebody comes and asks me, hey Sammy, what machine should I get? I have this size of a budget. I'm in my garage right now, but I really am going to want to expand my business and grow. I always say, 4x2 or 5x2 Pro Series. It's my favorite, perfect size to start your machine there. It'll fit in your garage space or your studio, wherever you are starting out. And then you can add length later on. You can turn it into a 4x8 or 4x10, whatever you like. In terms of like, can you cut smaller pieces on a large machine? I really like the fact that with my machine in the shop here and the larger machine, I can have all these different kind of fixtures set up, and I don't necessarily have to kind of change them. So I can have vertical work holding perhaps at the front. I can have my traditional, work area for sheet goods. I can have a rotary at the back, room for future add-ons and features later on.
Hmm.
So I like the modularity of it. And, of course, our support and engineering teams are just so exceptional. We're always working on creating educational materials and supporting our customers and as much as we can in so many different kind of facets. So that's kind of what I think is special about us. Kind of, Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, so I've been in manufacturing a long time, and what I can tell you about manufacturing is you can put a plan together, but as your
Mhm.
customer demands are shown and as you move forward, your needs change. In manufacturing, your needs change. And that's one thing that I really love about these systems is that they can evolve with your manufacturing needs that are current. And so, especially when we're starting or growing businesses, we can have plans, but sometimes those plans change because a customer base or an opportunity came up that is great for our business growth, and we want to take advantage of that opportunity. And so, knowing that in manufacturing, your business plan model is going to evolve and change over time. Having a system that can grow and evolve with that business model, I think, is just
Mhm.
fantastic. I also love the ability that you are the technician, and this is an agreement that we come with before you buy the machine. We've designed the machine for you to be the technician, and what that means is when you're using this machine in a production environment, it is a mechanical system. At some point, there is going to be some failure, just like any other mechanical system. Well, it was designed for you to help yourself in getting that back up and running, and so the availability of replacement parts, the design of those parts, and the fact that you're the technician that has to do that work, all is geared towards you being able to grow and deal with those manufacturing needs.
Right. I think being you're a very empowered technician, the fact that you put it together, your machine far better than somebody who might have just received a machine or came into it later, and if there is something that there are consumables on all machines, but the fact that you assembled it initially, you're able to kind of step up and do that and have a much shorter time where your machine is potentially um, you know, uh, in need of that update. So because you're able to do it, you don't have to wait for somebody to come help you. You call support, we get you your part, and some go. We work through that together. Um,
Yeah.
okay, we could get a couple more questions here. Um, I'm not sure how large the ATC spindle will be, but stay tuned.
Yeah, we're still working on all of
Mm-hmm.
those details, and that's part of the value
Mm-hmm.
proposition. but it's going to be a great system. I can promise you that.
Great. Yeah, we have a really great, this is a really great question. Congratulations on your machine, Michael. Here, what are the minimum specs for a laptop dedicated to running Mach 4?
Yeah, so really we want to, use a Windows 10 or an
Mm-hmm.
updated computer. So that's right out of the gates. We want to make sure that we're using an updated PC. And then really we want to have a minimum of 8 gig, but preferably 16 gigs of RAM. And that's going to be one of the features we want to focus on. We want to use an Intel or some other type of name brand processor. But other than that, really, the specs are listed right on our Mach 4 listing, but if you're asking specifically, it would be 16 gig RAM is what I would encourage you to do, and just running Windows 10.
Right. I also, we have all of those instructions kind of built into, there's setup instructions to make sure that Windows is really good at getting distracted. And we want to make sure that the controller computer, is really focused on what it's trying to accomplish. So we've have those instructions for you on our support
Yeah.
site.
Yeah, Windows is designed to be a multitasker. It's designed to operate multiple programs at once. And what we just want to do is we want to set it up to focus on operating and executing on what Mach 4 needs to do, which is communicate with our Ethernet smooth stepper card, which acts as a buffer. And so our communication and that buffer allows for Windows to have minor hesitations without any negative effect towards our machine movement. But we do want to give it as much of an opportunity to stay focused on executing what we're asking it to do, which is operate our CNC machine.
Great. We have a question here. I need 3/4 tooling to reach deep into cedar pockets. That's really great feedback. We are working on having a very curated and refined tooling options for our customers, and it's good to know what you need in that case, so we can make sure to find some samples and get it to our engineering team for testing, and knowing exactly what we should offer in order to help support you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Olivier. Super. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's most of our questions. Corey, what are you making this weekend?
What am I making this weekend? I'm making clean gutters this weekend. So it is that time of year here where I need to stay on top of my gutter cleaning, and so I'm going to do a little bit of fall preparation. And I don't think I'm going to spend much time in the shop this weekend, but I am going to be using a lot of hand tools outside of the shop, so it should be pretty fun. We're supposed to have some good weather.
Yeah, we're living that Pacific Northwest life. Awesome.
Yeah, what are you making this
Yeah, I'm
weekend?
working on some planter boxes. I know I've been talking about that. You can see I have mine set up here. I've got these 4x4 cedar posts. I've cut down on the miter saw, made a quick little jig where I can just clamp in the part and just throw it on there. I have my modified J Bates dust shoe here where I just wanted one hose input, so I just finished that up. I'm gonna hook up the dust collection and get these planter boxes done for a local Portland gallery. So I'm excited about that.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining our open studio. We will see you next week.
Yeah,
Have a
thanks.
good one.
Yeah.
Okay, surprise, we're back.
We're back.
we just want to answer a couple of those questions that were there that we missed. Do you recommend a machine where, throughout the machine, wherever possible, so that you kind of distribute the wear and tear of the machine? I think this means like maybe not machining right up in the front 12 to 24 inches of your 4x10 machine. Cory, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I kind of think this is kind of like rotating your
Mm-hmm.
tires. And so, what I think the question, or what I'm perceiving the question to be is, if I'm machining small work pieces, should I always machine those at the front, or should I rotate those, or also machine those in other areas of the machine? And I guess the short answer is, well, it depends on what your goals are. If you're gonna wear out mechanical parts. Slightly faster if that's where all of your travel is happening. But generally speaking, with our anti-backlash rack and pinion system on our Pro drives, there is some compensation for that. And so, if you know that you're going to be doing small work pieces and you have a 4x8 machine, I would just set yourself up with some different locations along that machine so you can spread that wear out, or you can rotate the tires as an analogy, and have that wear be even throughout the machine.
Right. We have a question about drilling.
Yeah, and so with our 3 horsepower spindle, 8,000 RPM is going to be the lowest RPM that we are going to recommend that you use. So we do not recommend that you go in and adjust your settings so you get a lower RPM. With the new 8.7 horsepower, or big spindle, that has an RPM range of 1,000 to 24,000, and that's going to be preset in Mach 4. And so that RPM range will already be preset to have that larger window. And so the reason we can have a larger window with that big spindle is because the fan RPM is not tied to the tool RPM. It's an external fan, and therefore we can make sure that that heat is dissipated appropriately even at those RPMs below 8,000.
Right. Where do you change the minimum spindle speed in Mach 4? We will have a Mach 4 version coming out soon that will have the option to have the 8 horsepower spindle, and that will automatically do that for you. But if you're
Yep.
going to do it manually, Cory, where might we navigate to that?
Yeah, I'm not going to encourage you to do it manually, because if you do change that minimum speed, what you're going to set yourself up for is that spindle could overheat. And so 8,000 RPM is going to be our minimum
Mm-hmm.
speed for that
Right.
spindle. If you are interested in doing drilling specifically, we actually touch base on this on both our plywood and
Mm-hmm.
aluminum and brass talks using helical movements. But generally speaking, a drill RPM, even at 1,000 for some drills, is going to be too fast. And
Right.
so, for you to effectively use a drill, we really do suggest a motor that is spinning significantly slower, in RPM ranges that don't have a comma in them.
Right. Well, wonderful. Thank you, Cory, and thank you, everybody. I think this time we got to all the
Yeah,
questions. So awesome. We will see you next week, and happy making.
yeah. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.